Hi, I'm Helena, grateful recovering alcoholic, and I have the blessing, I get to be the house manager at Aruka, Home for Women, and I also get to be the women's housing coordinator. And if you would have asked me a couple years ago, I would have been like, nope, not doing this. Not being in charge, I don't want to do it. And God had other plans. So I'm going to introduce someone who encouraged me. I can't, it's hard for me to put it in words. This woman God placed in my treatment center, and she got to see me go through treatment twice. But this woman prayed with me. She told me I could do it. She told me I was worth something. She said God has plans for me. And I am so grateful to her for that. And she has helped so many of my friends in recovery. She's helped just tons and tons of women. And the last time I relapsed was a year and 9 months ago, 10 months ago, something like that. I came walking into treatment. She was the first one to hug me. She came into my room. I was pacing. I was anxious. I was like, my boyfriend hates me. He kicked me out. My life's over. And this is the second time I'm doing this with her. And she sat down and she said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to stay busy while you're here. You're going to leave your boyfriend alone so he can heal. And you're going to let your family heal. And she kicked me in the you-know-what when I needed it. And she's done it for a lot of my friends too. So she no longer works at Oak House for Lake Geauga Recovery Centers, but man, has she helped a lot of my friends, including myself. And real quick, I want to thank Tina and Chris too. Thank you so much. It was awesome. So anyway, I want to introduce Dee Dee. There she is. I thought you were over there. So she's going to share her story with you guys.
All right, thank you for allowing me to come in and share today. I want to tell you I knew today was going to be a good day because I was on time for work. The fact that I work from home means nothing because there actually have been days when I have clocked in late. So let me word this way. I suffer from alcoholism. I'm recovered from alcoholism, but my identity is in God. I do not identify as an alcoholic. I do not identify as an addict, but I have those disorders. I needed healed from those things. I do work in the recovery field, and they've changed. They're changing, the culture and the words that we say are changing in society today, and they're trying to eliminate the words addict and alcoholic. It's a person with a substance use disorder. Nope, I was a garden variety drunk, gutter drunk. I am an alcoholic, but I find my identity as a child of God. My story is wild. My story is multifaceted. It can be convoluted. It can be disgusting, but in the end today, it's glorious. Not by my making. I'm used to talking with my hands, so I warn them if this goes, direct me back. I was raised in a church-going home. And when I say church-going, I mean Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night revivals. I went to Christian school. It wasn't Catholic, it was Christian. If anyone's familiar, it was Nazarene, which is Christian plus, And but that was my life, and it's what I knew. I was a young child growing up. All my friends were in church. I knew the Bible. Man, I knew the Bible. I was even on a Bible quiz team where we were competed against other Nazarene churches on who knew the Bible better. So I was in it. And I followed all the rules. I followed everything that I was taught. I loved God. I got saved when I was 4. I got baptized when I was 6. I was doing it. And then I turned 16. And I suddenly became the smartest woman, child, girl in the world. I knew better than my parents. I knew better than my pastor, my Sunday school teacher. And I didn't think I knew more than God, but I thought I knew better. He doesn't know what's right for me. I'm different. I know what's right for me. And you can call it teenage angst. You can call it stubbornness. I just call it my experience. So about that time, the church took a back seat to boys and life. And I had a part-time job, and I was surrounded by people who weren't in my church, family, and Christian school circle. My parents could no longer afford to send me to Christian school. It's very expensive, and there were 3 of us, so I was the one who said, I'll go to public school. So my circle changed of my friends. I got a job as a lifeguard, which if you know anything about the Nazarene Church, you are not allowed to do that because you can't swim with boys, much less wear a bathing suit around them. But I was doing it, and I started being around people who knew nothing about church, nothing about God, and I was okay with that. And I was told growing up in church, don't do this, don't do that. God doesn't want you to do this. Don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, don't drink. And I was convinced as a child that if I did any of those things, I would burn in hell. Convinced. Wasn't really told that in so many words. Kind of, sort of, I think, maybe. But I was told, don't do it. And I was like, okay. But then at 16, with the lifeguard thing and the boys and all this, and then there was drinking. And somebody handed me a California cooler, and totally making everybody know how old I am because it's California coolers. They don't even make anymore. But somebody gave me one. And nobody knew about my background in church, but I thought, they don't need to know. So I have this California cooler in my hand, and I'm thinking, I'm going to do this. And you know that nervous excitement where it's kind of fearful, but you're kind of excited and you kind of want to do it. And that's how I was feeling. And I took a drink, and I literally waited because I expected the floor to open up and me to go straight down to the pizza. I knew it was happening. But it didn't. So I took another drink, finished that bottle, had 2 more, and then I knew that I knew what was better for me than God because this felt good. I was dizzy, my fingers were tingling, my toes were numb, and I was even more smarter and prettier and funnier and wiser. And I thought, they don't even know over here in this church. They don't even know. So, when that didn't cause me to be immediately burned, I thought, well, let me try these other things like lying, stealing, boys, premarital sex. Sorry, I know it's church, but it was part of my story. I'm going to try all these things because they told me I couldn't. So they were wrong. And God does not know better than me. I don't want any part of this God that tells me I can't have this kind of fun. And I went on that self-will, self-destruction. Didn't even know it at the time. I thought it was fun. I was enjoying myself. And again, I was still smarter than everybody. I got married to my high school sweetheart at 18 years of age when everyone around me, especially my parents, my mom's here tonight, forbid me to marry this man. I know better. I'm smarter. I'm wiser. I married him because I knew. 18 years old, I'm married. I'm going to have a baby, had a baby. In that order. Married. You're going to get pregnant, had a baby, had another baby, because I know best. I'm going to be the best mom there ever was. My kids are going to be perfect. It's going to be awesome. But let me drink first. And that's how my life went. And I'm doing this, and I'm putting up this front, and I'm trying my best, and it's going to be fun. And something was missing in my life. I had this hole that I kept drinking to try to fill. I knew God, I knew the Bible, I had this knowledge, but I definitely wasn't thinking that that's what that hole was. I thought that hole was, I need another baby, so I had one. So that's 3. I wanted this baby to fill this hole. When he didn't, I got a job bartending because I need money now. And so bartending, why not? I'm drinking, it's part of this life. Money's gonna be good and I can have fun and I can fill this hole. What I ended up doing was bartending, making money and drinking more. And that hole never filled up. But going to God and filling up that God-sized hole was not an option for me at the time. I'm not ashamed to say I didn't raise my kids in church, and I'll get to the why of that in a minute. But I didn't. I never took them to church. We never talked about God. We never prayed. Shame on me. But the reason I'm not ashamed is because that's part of my story, and it's led to my children being who they are today, and I'm grateful for that. So my kids were growing and doing the thing, and I was the soccer mom during the day, you know, the PTA mom, the let me go to parent-teacher conferences mom, and at night I was this bartender living this completely debaucherous, immoral life, but it was separate, you know, at home I'm mom, here I'm not. And eventually the nightlife started seeping over into the day life, and I became the soccer mom with the vodka in the water bottle. I became the mom going to parent-teacher conferences in a blackout. I became the mom driving my child to oboe tutoring at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning with a one eyeball, hoping to God I didn't get pulled over for a DUI. That was what my life had become quick. But I still thought I was okay. I can fix this. I can fix this. I don't need God. I don't need anything. And it was about this time, you know, I told you, the more I drank, the more my morals dropped. I think that's pretty much standard across the board for anybody who has suffered with a substance use disorder. My morals were low. Marriage. Still married to my high school sweetheart who absolutely despised me. And the feeling at the time was mutual, so I found attention and affection elsewhere. Why not? You know, the Bible didn't matter to me. I had no morals. I had no spiritual compass. Everybody around me was telling me, you have a problem. And I would say, you are my problem. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm going to drink this way. I'm fine. Why should my drinking bother you? But it bothered them because they loved me and they saw what I was doing. Eventually, in September 27th, 2007, I walked into my first AA meeting. I didn't know where else to go. Everybody was just telling me to quit. Stop drinking. You're a mess. You need this. I'm like, fine. Leave me alone. I'll go to a meeting. I told them AA cost $2 because that was how much a beer was, 99 cents, one of those big cans at that time. So I figured if I could tell them AA cost $2, I could buy 2 beers to drink on the way to AA and on the way home. And it worked for my first couple of meetings. So my first AA meeting I went into, and I was drunk and hated it, was expecting, I saw what I was not expecting. I was not expecting to see people that looked normal, you know, because I was not an alcoholic. These people can't look like me, they have to look different. But they didn't, they looked the same, and I cannot tell you what the meeting was about. Cannot tell you. I was drunk. But what I can tell you is they said the Lord's Prayer afterwards. And the Bible talks about like pouring hot coals on the head of your enemy. I felt like I was the enemy and there were hot coals poured on me when they said the Lord's Prayer. I thought, that's it, I'm done, I can't do this, it's a cult. I'm not going back. I'm not drinking it. I don't need brainwash, my brain is fine, don't pray with me. So I drank my second beer that I had bought because AA paused on the way home and said, I'm cured. They said there's this thing called controlled drinking. I can do that. It's allowed. Let me try this. And of course, I can tell you that led me back. The drinking progresses even when I'm not drinking and when I picked up again. You know, I was having like a week of clean time, a week of abstinence, and then right back to it like I'd never stopped. And but I kept going to AA because people would not shut up about getting sober. And I'm like, oh, just leave me alone. And I went back to AA. And then they started talking about this thing called a higher power. And I thought, power? Really, I don't know what you people are talking about. And I tuned it out. I did the standing in the circle and the praying the Lord's Prayer thing. I didn't say it, wouldn't say it, but I stood and was very uncomfortable. But I didn't know where else to go and where else to turn, because for whatever reason, these people, I seem to have something in common with them. I didn't know what it was, but I really felt comfortable in AA, and I've since found out if you feel comfortable in AA, you might need AA. I can remember after a meeting one time, really early on, I was out there complaining about this whole prayer and higher power God thing, because I thought it was wrong. And this really good-looking man, which, by the way, kept me going back to meetings even when I didn't want to go. I just wanted to see him. God knew what I needed to get sober. He said, "Don't you think there's something out there bigger than you?" At first I thought, absolutely not. And then I thought, maybe. I said, "What is that?" And he goes, "Whatever you want it to be. It can be the room, it can be the drunks, it can be the bowl." And I thought, okay. So I started trying to come up with this conception of a being that was larger than me and my ego. And God was there. My God, from when I was a little girl, was still there. I had left. There he was. I couldn't change that in my head. It was always that God. Man, I've done a lot. Everything you told me not to do, I did. And all that Bible knowledge that had been memorized to win contests and to be an A+ student in school came to me, and it meant something. And I knew that he loved me in spite of me doing everything against him. He loved me. And you know, AA, if anyone's familiar with the 12 steps, which I know there may be a few of you here that are, you know, the personal inventory thing where we have to take ownership, you know, that's biblical. Owning your sin, owning what you did, and confessing it. I found a woman, I got sober in Cincinnati, and I found a woman there that I could trust, and I told her everything, because I couldn't carry it anymore, and a problem shared is a problem carried. And then I prayed, and I asked Jesus Christ to forgive me for what I've done, please. I'm so sorry. And I was trying desperately to remember everything I'd done. There was a lot, because I thought if I don't remember it all and I forget something, he's not going to forgive that one thing I forgot. But you know what he does. And if I remember something, I had asked him, you know, Jesus, forgive me, I did this. And I mean it today. My childhood, my high school sweetheart, we divorced like maybe 2 weeks into AA. He was just done, and that was okay. We had a custody battle over our children, and you know, I'll tell you something, I love my kids with all my heart, but on paper, I was a bad mom. When a judge looks at those papers and sees the things that were on there, that I had no right to my kids. I didn't. But I fought for them, and I lost custody of them, but I had visitation, and my ex-husband decided I didn't deserve the visitation. So it became this court battle, and this is there's a story in the Bible, and I think it's in front of King Saul, where the two women carry the baby in, and the one says, "This is mine," and the other one says, "This is mine," and finally the real mother says, King Saul says, "I'm going to cut him in half. So each of you can have a half," and the real mother says, "No, she can have him." And that's praying through this whole court battle about custody of my children. That was the image that was the story God kept reminding me of, and I stepped back. And I refused to fight for my children anymore, and I gave it to God. I didn't see my kids for almost 5 years. They grew, they became teenagers, they became adults. But I'm going to tell you today, I have 2 grown sons. Grown like one's 30, like grown sons. Again, I'm telling you how old I am. They call me 5 to 7 times a week, and they're not even asking for money. They call me to talk to me and to tell me what's going on in their lives. And that is nothing that I did. Nothing that I did. My youngest son, he made me a grandma. Again, I'm just saying how old I am. 52. Just get it out. My youngest son got baptized 2 weeks ago. Again, I did nothing of it. That's not you. Remember I was telling you about that really good-looking man that I kept going into AA with? Well, I married him. And I watched him not only get sober, I watched him get saved. And if you want to see someone on fire for Christ, it's a 6'4", 240-pound ex-college football player who loves the Lord. He's like a lightning rod to God. November 24th, 2017. That man was my best friend, but on November 24th, 2017, God called him home. And it was the day after Thanksgiving, and we were happy, and we were living, and we were loving, and we were fighting, but we were loving. And he said, I'm not feeling good, I'm going to lay down. And he had a sudden heart attack and was gone before the life squad could get there. And I'm here to tell you, my world completely changed when that happened. I've never experienced anything like that in my life, and I would never wish that on anyone. It fundamentally changed my life. They did everything they could, and we were living in Pittsburgh at the time. I'm sorry for any Browns fans. But it was just him and I, and we were happy, and we were in love, and God was the center of our marriage. And he died, and I was alone in Pittsburgh on a rainy night the day after Thanksgiving. And when they came in to tell me and to confirm that he had died, my first thought, and I had had years of sobriety under my belt, my first thought was, I'm going to get drunk. First thought. My first thoughts are always wrong, and that was no exception. I had no choice but to turn to God. No choice, because it was either turn to God or I will die, because I don't want to feel what I know I'm going to feel. My mom, who had never been to, she'd been to Pittsburgh once, maybe like a month prior. She was living here in Willoughby, and I called her, and it was a rainy night, and I told her what had happened, and I was alone. And do you know that woman who can't see or drive very well, sorry, Mom, drove to Pittsburgh to be with me. She stayed with me for 2 weeks while I dealt with the business end of dying, which is horrible. I can't tell you what happened. I can't tell you what I did. I can't tell you specifics, except to tell you that the only way I got through that was by God, because that was my constant communication. It was a lot of crying, a lot of, I can't even tell you how the feeling. My husband had had tattoos on his arm. One of the tattoos was Rakasakamatz, which in Hebrew means be strong and of good courage. And 3 days after he died, I do remember doing this. I walked down the street and got a tattoo like that on my arm, and it reminds me still every day, be strong and of good courage. I know I'm probably running out of time. I'll wrap this up. I just have to share. My mother's up there in Pittsburgh helping me close up our home. And I'm originally from Cincinnati, so I said, Mom, I don't know what I'm going to do. Can I come and stay with you for 3 weeks? And that was 4 years ago. I'm not a procrastinator, I promise. Actually, what I am is I was lost after Todd died, my husband died, and I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe I'll wait tables, because that was all I knew. I had no college diploma. I had really no career experience. I had 52 jobs in 15 years. I could be anything that I ever wanted to be, but none of them appealed to me. So I did what I prayed. God, where do you want me? And do you know that this May, like 3 months ago, I graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in psychology. With honors, okay? I barely passed high school. And that's not me, that's God. And I started my first job in the addiction field. My first paid job was for Lake Geauga Recovery Centers. You tell me that's not a God thing, okay? The experience I had with addiction was I was a sponsor for a minute, and I was an alcoholic in recovery. That was it. But I'm gonna show you my little bit of education I have, and they gave me the opportunity, and I get to talk to and interact with people, and I hear what Helena said about me helping her, but she has no clue what she's done for me. To be able to witness somebody get sober and get clean and grow their relationship with God, that is a miracle. Never experienced anything like that. To get the opportunity to see that firsthand, I'm the one that's truly blessed. My life is good today. I start my master's degree next month, can't even believe it, in social work. God has kept me in this field. There's plans to move down to Cincinnati, man, I was gonna do that. First thought wrong. God said, stay here. I don't know why. I just know it's what he said. And so when I told my sons, I was going to tell my boys, they live down there, and I'm like, they were expecting me to move down eventually. So I'm going to have to tell them that God wants me to stay here. And I told them, thinking I was going to get wanting the reaction, oh no, Mom, we miss you. Instead, I got, great idea, Mom, you need to stay up there. And I'm like, good, all right, okay, it's fine. I do go down and visit about every 3 months, and I've got a new car. I bought a new car. I had 52 jobs in a year. I couldn't save a dime. I bought a new car. I'm just, every day is I'm working from home right now. I'm working for another treatment, and I'm working in a different area of the treatment field. I can tell you that it's not something I'm really excited about, and it's not something that I'm going to stay with, and it fundamentally is probably not something that I would ever recommend for someone in recovery unless they needed it. Please don't tell my work that. But what I will tell you is that I've learned so much with this company, so much that I can take that's going to enhance wherever God puts me next. I've been praying for God to put me somewhere else, and he's not doing it quite yet. I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but I know that he will make it clear, and I'm going to end up where he wants me. I'm far from perfect. I take my self-will back on any given day, but every single day I grow a little bit more, just a little bit. Thank you for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate it, Helena. I do have to say this in front of everybody. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you.